Live and in person here in New Hampshire, home of three of New Hampshire's governors, of which I can only name one, fellow by the name of Prescott. Here are, ladies and gentlemen, you asked for it, you got it. Mr. B with Poli-Ticking with Mr. B. We've got a hell of a show to come on tonight. A lot of things have been going on here in the world, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to be approaching to tackle them and give them some answers that a lot of people have been looking for, but they can't seem to get out of ordinary means. That having been said, we've got a heck of a program. I actually have a wonderful panel of guests that are coming in. We're going to be doing some things. I've got a fellow by the name of Lester, a fellow by the name of Led, and a fellow by the name of Ben, all of which work in different spheres of working for things to help keep our nation safe and our world intact. That being said, before we go any further, I want to say thank you very much to my engineer Blazeman for helping put all of these things together, and we'll see what we've got going on. Gentlemen, if we could, I want to bring out Mr. Blazeman. Before we go any further, can we run up the colors, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And that justice for all means everyone, not just certain people from certain places or walks of life. Our nation was founded under the fundamental principles that each and every person here is equal and as an equal share and an equal shot at the dream and the promise that this country holds and holds dear. That having been said, I want to bring in some people here and introduce you to our first guest. We're going to have our fellow all the way from where he is. Now, these people, I am not going to tell you exactly where they work or what they do, but suffice to say, we have this fellow who is going to be our expert for one section of the Middle East. Lester, can we bring him in, Blazeman? Are we up there? There we are. Lester,
hello.
How are you?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, why don't you give us a little quick synopsis of what you feel comfortable in relation, so people have an understanding of who and what you do.
Well, my experience is vast. I actually served the prior service with the IDF. Being a born Jew, we can only do 1 week at a time unless you have a specialty. Then you can do 2, and then you got to leave. So I'm scheduled to leave January 31st for my second tour, which is supposed to be 2 weeks as well. Also, I spent 6 years with the DSS, the Department of State Diplomatic Security, as a security contractor over in Baghdad and Israel.
Well, it's suffice to say that I think we are well in hands when we're hearing our information from you, sir. That having been said, let's bring in our second guest, Ned, who's a fellow who has his experience, as I understand it, from a different section of that area of the world. Ned, how are you? Good evening, sir.
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Outstanding, my friend.
Okay.
Would you please give us a little synopsis of your angle of view, so to speak?
Sure. I've got about 30 plus years in public safety here in the U.S., and then I did some time as a State Department contractor in Afghanistan and Romania for a while.
Wow. So suffice to say again, you know what you're talking about when we're doing things. And finally, we have our gentleman friend here from Ben, who is from another section of the world here locally. If we bring him in, is he available this time?
I'm here.
Ben, good evening. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming in and being a member. Why don't you go ahead and tell our viewers what your flavor would be from the world of protecting others?
Excellent. So I spent 10 years in the United States Marine Corps, fought in 2 major conflicts, and then I came out, and I've been in emergency medical services for the last 20 years.
Outstanding, outstanding. You are a member of the Marines. Hoorah, Semper Fi, my friend.
Hoorah, Semper Fi.
Very, very good friend of mine who is also I shouldn't say a former Marine. She's a Marine who's not on duty anymore, who actually is now in Cleveland, Ohio, a young lady who is also, of all things, a rabbi
Huh?
in a synagogue that is out there. And I had the pleasure of speaking with her, and things there are, because she's also associated with a teaching school that is there, are running a very tight ship indeed, which is a good thing. And that brings us into our discussions for the evening. Are we all ready to get going here, gentlemen?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's roll.
Well, I thank you very much for coming in, and I thank you very much for spending the time here. I want to mention at this time that although we're sitting here, we're talking about world events, still very much on our mind are the people who are being held captive somewhere over in that pile of sand and that wreck and rubble. And we hope and we pray that they are in good condition and in as good spirits as they possibly can be. And we think, of course, of the families that are also missing their family members. Possibly, I cannot possibly imagine what this is like for them, and I'm sure you're joining along with me. That having been said, our President Biden had a press conference today and mentioned a number of things, and I'm going to ask you. I'll start with you, Mr. Lester. Was it effective in any way? Let me hear what you have to say about this.
What you mean? What was Biden effective in any way?
And today he had a press conference. Was it in any way? Did it serve any purpose? Was it in any way effective and convincing?
I'm going to be honest with you. He hasn't been effective since January 20th, 2020.
I understand. I understand. Is there any reason that we should give any credence to the things that he's had to say and he's run over? And unfortunately, the man himself is just he's a rubber moron in plain English. But I think one of the things that needs to happen is he needs to just back away and not do anything and let the people in the Middle East do what they're doing. But that having been said, Ned, how about you? Do you have anything to add about this? What's going on with this?
Yeah, I really wish you'd just stay out of the way. Let the warfighters do their jobs. You know, there'll be enough time for all this nonsense and the talk and the photo ops and all that after the blood dries. This isn't the time for this.
Well, that just fries my eggs. About the Iran question, we've had 14 assaults that we know of on U.S. assets. These people are known to be giving aid and support to terrorist organizations. It has been speculated widely, and I believe that it to be true, that their nuclear program is probably close to 90% complete. Where do we go from here? What is the smart move? Mr. Ned.
At this point, well, the Iran nuclear deal definitely needs to go away. That should have never started in the first place. They need to lock that down right now and just shut the whole thing off. Why our government isn't doing that, I don't know. Between that and uncontrolled immigration and everything else that's going on right now, I think we're in serious trouble with a lot more than just Iran. We have internal problems that we need to deal with.
Lester, your input
Well,
on this, please.
the UN lifted the ban on Iran's nuclear program, the United Nations, last week, allowing them to go ahead and start ramping it up. And intelligence estimates concur with the number you threw out. They're probably about 90% right now. I will add that there was a hearing on Capitol Hill today, and the select committee that was holding the hearing was told there are Hamas and Hezbollah terrorists here on U.S. soil waiting for Iran to give the green light to strike us here in the U.S. homeland.
That brings me to the next question that we have. Now, Ben has gone off camera. I don't know if he's available with us or not. Are you with us, Ben?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay. Please, could you give us your input in this, because we really need to know what's going on and what's going on here on our ground.
Are you asking about the Iran 90% nuclear deal, or are you asking a different question?
About the Iran 90% nuclear deal and how it's affecting us, whether or not they actually have the capability, because there has been a lot of speculation that they are beyond the 90 point, and someone believes that they've got nukes tucked away, waiting to be sent in our direction.
Well, that part is speculative, and if I may bring up, history does repeat itself. There is a country out there who we all know who had a preemptive strike on Iran's nuclear underground facility twice. So as far as that's concerned, I'm waiting with bated breath on how that's going to play out. What we need to do is understand that, and it's one of my favorite sayings, is that preparation is not paranoia. We are on the brink of something ungodly that's going to happen here shortly. We talk about this all the time. You have to be prepared, and the challenge is going to be prepare to self-rescue.
Okay. From an aspect of civil preparedness, we understand that, of course, our public servants and so forth can only do so much.
Absolutely.
We've got over 1,270,000 illegals over the border this year, and the number keeps rising by the moment we keep talking. We're absolutely certain through all of that, we know that there has to be a number of operatives that are unfavorable to our national security that I'm sure have made it through. Just how ready is radical Islam to strike on our soil?
They are ready. They're sleeper cells. They're ready. They're waiting for the word go.
They are here.
They're here.
Absolutely.
Ned has some serious facts. If you allow him to share them, he has some crazy serious facts on what you just said.
Let's go. Let's have it. Come on, boys. Ned?
Well, let's see. Let me find my notes. So, circle
While
around.
he's
I'll
doing
do them
that-
for you for a minute.
Yep. While he's doing that, something like 2.1 million last year alone, 12,000 in one day. It was just a report that there were a multitude of Syrian men, and I quote, of fighting age captured across the southern border. Now, I don't want to take Ned's thunder because I know he's got some great info there.
I do. Are you ready? I got some numbers for you.
Please, let's hear what you have to say, Ned.
Okay, fiscal year 2023, 2,475,669. There's been 2,475,669 illegal crossings coming through our border that we've actually caught. Okay, there was a record set of 12,000 in one day that presented themselves at the U.S.-Mexico border. Now, in the past, when we were doing drug interdiction along the border, you figured that you get about 10% of everything that comes through. If we're catching the same amount of illegal aliens that are actually they're just surrendering themselves, how many are crossing? 24 million every year? Somebody said there was something like 4 Nebraska's worth of undocumented aliens that are within our country right now, or illegal aliens, or whatever you want to call them.
Okay. I got a question for you. And Lester, what do you have to say about this? I mean, you've got to have some sort of insight about this.
Well, like I said, Kevin McCarthy last month said that they arrested 18 people on the terror watch list at the border. Ned's numbers are correct. Ned and I, we speak constantly. Ned's numbers are correct. They're already here. they're waiting for some higher up in Iran to give them the green light to go ahead and start their attack. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I've gone on record. I'm going to go on record. I'm going to say it's going to be by one of the high holidays, either Thanksgiving or Christmas. We're going to get hit. We're
Absolutely.
going to get hit hard.
My particular feeling about this is that they're going to hit, and it's not only going to be going for larger major cities. Something tells me that these people are going to go somewhere in the heartland, Nebraska, Oklahoma, something of that nature, because that is where if nobody's expecting it, and if we get hit in a place like that, that would probably be the single most shocking thing. What are your thoughts, Ben? Let's hear from you.
I don't disagree with you on that statement. I do, however, think that it's going to be a widespread coordinated attack. If you look at, again, you look at history, when you look at terrorist attacks, some of the bigger ones like Nairobi, Kenya, the Russia attacks over there, they were coordinated and they were sponsored and funded by different organizations. The challenge is going to be the multiple front attacks, the primary, tertiary, secondary, and quaternary attacks, and that
Uh-huh.
it's going to tax all our local resources. There's going to come a time when your local PD, FD, your emergency service is just not going to have the resource or the power, manpower to come help you. When this goes, it's going to ignite, and it's going to be, for lack of a better term, spectacular in a negative way.
Yep. I'm going to throw a curveball at you guys, and I want to see where you go with this. This is something that's going to come out. You think it's going to come out of left field, but there's a reason for it. You may remember a number of months ago there was a shooting at a Presbyterian church and school where there was one person who it was said they were a transgender person who went and they killed these things and did this and whatever else. And there was a much talked about manifesto that was very quickly covered up and never released. What was inside that manifesto, and did it have anything to do with the possibility of having been connected to radicalized Islam?
Whoa, that's an interesting question. Well, given radical Islam's complete disgust by transphobia, homophobia, that kind of thing, I'm going to have to say no on that. There was definitely something going on, and I would love to see the manifesto. That could have been a probing attack, but there's so many different, it's not just, there's so many radical groups that aren't related to Islam that are available right now. You have Antifa and BLM and all the rest of them. Probing attacks from them, soft targets.
Okay. Oh, well, the reason why I'm asking, and I'm going to throw the same question out to you, Lester, as well. I want to hear from you about this, but the reason why I'm asking is because we've seen things that happened very recently over in Israel that people weren't expecting.
Yeah.
Maybe are these people broadening their horizons in ways that they can get in and drive the wedge? Lester, let's hear it.
Well, in high school and in college, I was a pretty good breaking ball hitter. So I'm going to hit it right back at you. You ready?
Okay.
That girl, I don't care what type of drug she was on. Transgender drugs, LSD. I don't care what you. Somebody, and she graduated from that school, but if you watch the videos, she was she was a professional. She shot out the windows. She walked through the windows unimpeded after she shot them out. A 10-year-old went to pull the fire alarm. She shot her, and she went around methodically executing kids. Now, I've made it my mission to study every aspect of terrorism that I possibly can. And as far as that particular one goes, I think the reason you haven't seen the manifesto is because the government, there's something in there that the government doesn't want you to know. And I think it has to do with mind control. Because somebody on drugs doesn't act like that. Cool under pressure, every shot counted. the way she entered the building until the police confronted her and took her out. I think, and the CIA was very good at mind control way back when. They say that the programs are gone. I don't believe it. That's how the sleeper cells are going to be awakened. So,
Ben, your thoughts?
You know, I agree pretty much with Lester on that, other than the fact that the government hides things, so they say, for our benefit, right? If you watch that video, if anybody's watched that video and you look at her, she's not a novice. She knew what she was doing. She knew how to handle a gun.
Yeah.
She had the intent to kill as many people as possible. To your point, could it be possible that these radicalized Islamist fundamentalists are widening their horizons or broadening their horizons? I don't know, man. That's a 50-50. You know, but I do know we're going to find out soon enough. That's what I know.
Right. We've got a video to come up. Blazeman, if you've got it, can you get it in? It's the a video with Benjamin Netanyahu. He is speaking in Hebrew, but there's an English subtext. We can I want to get a look at this, and then when that's over, we're going to take a break, and we will come back, and we'll do some more discussion. Have you got that for us, Blazeman? Hopefully got it. All right. Well, maybe we're having a difficulty getting it going. Yeah, Ben Netanyahu had gotten in. And he was talking about what they were going to be doing and why they were. Here we are. That having been said, hostages delay for release, or should they just write them off and go ahead and attack? We will take that subject up when we come back. FFN Network's Politicking with Mr. B with 3 wonderful guests. We'll see you back in about 3.5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I'm going to go into break. Thank you very much.
Holding on to each other, miss the last bus on foot to get home. I miss the town, rowdy and clever, all at once undercover, blowing kisses to the shop windows as we go. We stayed out playing past midnight. That was years ago. Now something. Just ain't right. Better take it slow. We stayed out playing past midnight.
But that was years ago.
Now something just ain't right.
Better take it slow.
Are we getting old? Am I getting over? Gotta catch my breath before we go. We stayed out playing past midnight.
But that was years ago.
Now something just ain't right.
Better take it slow.
We stayed out playing past
That was
midnight.
years ago.
Now something just ain't right.
Better take it slow.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching Poli-Ticking with Mr. B here in Epping, New Hampshire, and all the points abroad. Well, we have other people that are here with us. We have a very nice panel going on. We've been discussing world events and things, issues having to do with our own sanity and security for what we may very well put into it. That being said, I want to bring back Mr. Lester, Mr. Ned, and Mr. Ben. Thank you very much for panelists. Now, we saw the video. We talking with Benjamin Netanyahu, and in the end of his video, he had made clear that they are going to have investigations and to figure out how it is they missed all of these things, never saw coming at them what happened. And you've got to admit, the Hamas people, they played this one beautifully, because look at how they did. They did things that nobody was expecting. The question is why, but he'd said it's not going to get swept under the carpet. Everyone's going to make the answer, including himself. That is the sign of a good, firm leader. But he said, right now, we've got the war to deal with. All right, hostages. Netanyahu said that they're going to take and hold back some time, whatever else, trying to get the hostages. Is this a mistake? Are they delaying, and it's causing the Hamas, or allowing them to dig in and resupply and get a firmer hold, which is going to cause a steeper battle? Lester, let's hear what you have to say.
Okay, I believe so. I have in my possession a video from an Israeli soldier higher up in the command structure, who says that this was an inside job because of the length of time it took for a response. So that's number one. Netanyahu's right. There has to be accountability, but they have to deal with the law first. Secondly, in speaking with some of my connections over there, that tunnel network where they're holding some of the hostages is so extensive that there's going to be one way to get them out of there. And that's the gas, and that's to put gas in the tunnel. That in itself is going to be disastrous. So unless they release the hostages and they're able to get them out, I'm not holding up much faith in hostage rescue.
Ned?
Well, Israel's trying to balance world opinion in all of this. It's going to be extremely difficult. I think, as Mr. Lester said earlier, accountability is going to be important. But something nobody seems to want to talk about too much is that Israel was a victim of a massive cyber attack just prior to all this that took down a lot of their surveillance systems and other things that have gone on. As far as the hostages go, yeah, I think it's just allowing Hamas more time to regroup, and we are with the aid coming in from Gaza right now. No, those trucks aren't being checked. I was reading something earlier. They're just checking the manifest and letting them go through. So how many weapons, they're getting resupplied by all those humanitarian vehicles.
I want to interrupt you here for a moment, Ned. I want to touch on this. You had mentioned that they had done something that's not talked about or not speaking about, that they did a massive internet or IT attack.
A
There were
DNS
things
attack.
that happened here that a lot of people they never saw coming. They not only did they do an IT attack, they came in divers, from what I understand. They were trying to do some sort of amphibious assault using Navy divers.
Air, land, and sea.
Nobody saw this coming. Is this anything at all that you would think of?
No, but that's why it was so successful.
Well, what it shows, though, is that this is a nation state. This Hamas just didn't come up with this. They just didn't pull this out of their ass and say, "Well, we're going to go do this today," and start this ball in motion. Somebody, I don't recall who, was talking about this has been planned for 50 years. This is a long, drawn-out process. Whatever reason that this happened at this particular time in history, we'll probably never have a good answer to that. But Iran's involved. There was documents found on one of the Hamas murderers today showing that was implicating Iran. There was a list, or not Iran, China. There was a list of specific things they were supposed to accomplish, apparently. This isn't just an Israeli Palestine issue. This is pretty much a global issue at this point. Back to the cyber attacks, yes, there's an unintended consequences, or as you were saying earlier, Mr. B, about things that are being done that you don't think about. There was some issue with the fiber optic cable between, I think it was like Denmark and Norway last week, where somehow that had either been cut or damaged or something to that effect. Well, that's how everything between countries, between continent travels.
The writing is on the wall that these people are escalating.
Yeah,
they are learning and they are growing, and they're not just making IEDs, and they're not making rockets in someone's bathtub or whatever else. These people are becoming more sophisticated. In doing so, and what they're doing, it smacks to me that they're not just looking for Israel. Are they looking to expand this into a more regional war, and even on other lands, on other continents simultaneously? Ben.
Well, I mean, it's no hidden secret that Islam has been saying from the beginning of time their goal is world dominance, take over the world. That's right in the Quran. There's no secret.
Ben, in your aspect, and from your fold of the world, what do you hear? Have you had feedback? How is this coming together?
You broke up. Can you repeat that question one more time, please?
How is it all coming? How is it all of this coming together? From what you hear in your sphere of the work, there has to be some sort of chatter about where these things are coming from and what to be looking for. How is this coming together, and how is it going to? Because it's going to strike us here. How are they suggesting that it's the most likely to attack and to land us here?
Very challenging question, and my response is very challenging as well. The chatter is always going to be only as good as it was 5 minutes ago. So what's going to happen is they're going to find out some other information that's going to corroborate some other information. Then it's going to change. I don't believe for one moment that the intel will be hard and fast. I believe that we're going to find out as it happens. And the other challenge is they're already here, bro. They're already here. We're not looking for them at the border anymore. They're here.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, where are they going to take and unleash their their tip of the iceberg, so to speak?
The chatter that I'm hearing from where I'm coming from in my world, that's what you're asking for, is
Yeah.
very much gonna be the four corners: California, New York, Dallas, and Texas. And then, like you said earlier, it's gonna be a coordinated attack in the heartland, and that's exactly what I'm hearing.
Okay. Ned, you've seen how these people are, how they fight, how they do these things. I want to know, how does good old-fashioned Mr. and Mrs. America fight against these sons of bitches?
The best you can do is educate yourself and be prepared. And if I got to go back to, if you see something, say something. Be aware of your surroundings. Situational awareness is of critical importance right now. You can look at things that would seem normal on your everyday life, and maybe all of a sudden, based on everything that's happening right now, it's no longer normal. But say something to somebody about that.
I vividly remember back in the days just after September the 11th. I have a very, very good friend who lives up in the West Isle of Montreal, in a village called Kirkland. And I remember her specifically telling me that there had been a family that she had for many months questioned. They moved into here. They were really strange, and they had the way they were doing things and done things, the way they would open their garage and close the garage, and they were trying. It looked as though they were trying to secret something or hide something or whatever. They were very secretive, and nobody ever spoke with them, whatever else. I told her, I said, Denise, pick up the damn phone and call the police. Listen, you see something, say something. Sure enough, they called the police, and she didn't have anything else to do with it. And it wasn't very long before, I guess, whatever they have up there for their investigative authority showed up, and the people wound up getting swept out, whatever it was. So, yeah, if you see something, say something. Lester, how does Mr. and Mrs. America defend themselves against?
I get a different approach than Ned does. Ben hit the nail on the head a few minutes ago when he said 30 seconds to self-rescue. So when the shit hits the fan, Mr. B, and you call 911 and they don't show up, you got to be prepared to defend yourself.
Exactly.
Right? So my suggestion to people, and I teach the classes, I've taught several this past year, purchase yourself a firearm and learn how to use it. You got to be responsible for yourself. You can't expect anybody to come and save your ass when the shit hits the fan.
Okay.
It just is not.
I'm going to ratchet this up a little bit, boys. Now I'm really going to light a fire under our ass here. We've got the U.S. moving 3 carrier groups out into this area, into the locust, where Hezbollah sits on 150,000 missiles. Iran is wrenching up together nuclear capabilities. Hamas fields underwater commandos, and we're seeing things that people never expected. Are we missing warning signs of something more ominous coming? How do we know that we aren't missing something more? Lester.
Well, that's where you got to kind of rely on listening to the podcast, as I said. We hit it all, we hit it hard, based on our past experience. A lot of ominous signs we're seeing now are not good. And so got to chew through them. We got to try to decide, which is what we do. It's coming. There's a lot they're not telling us. The government, Ronald Reagan said, if somebody shows up that says from the government, I'm here to help, he said, don't believe him. I'm telling you. Silence
I'm
is
going to give you the
golden.
bill of life for that one right there.
Silence is golden. They're not telling us because they don't want us to know.
Ned, let's hear your take on this.
Yeah, you know, there's been no trust in government in decades now. I don't think any of us really believe anything that we're told by the politicians. All they're going to tell us is what they think that we want to hear. And the problem with now is that they don't know. They don't know what they don't know, I think, is a big part of the problem. And they're sure as hell not going to tell us that they don't know.
Well, years and years ago, they had asked why the Imperial Japanese did not or would not attack the United States on the eastern coast. And do you know what the answer was?
Yeah,
The
guns.
answer back then was because behind every blade of grass, there's a gun.
Right.
My point with all of this is the people in the Middle East don't speak Japanese. They don't give a fiddler's fart whether or not we've got guns behind every blade of grass. How in the hell are we going to stop this?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. With the way our society is, we're so screwed up right now anyway. Everybody is so divided. There is no agreement on anything. I can only hope that, well, man, this is a terrible thing to say. And I was thinking about it a couple of days ago. You know, after 9/11, the United States of America came together as one. And it took that horrible tragedy to bring us together. And I can only hope that if something else of that like that happens again, it'll reunite us as a nation, reunite us as a nation, and we can start addressing these issues once again. But I'm afraid that we are all so divided that that's not going to happen. Is that going to be a civil war level event? You know, I don't know. I really don't know.
Ben, from your aspect, working in the field that you do, I have a sense that you probably know and understand what it means when I say drop a tag and move along.
Absolutely.
How does Mr. and Mrs. America come to terms with that when the shit hits the fan and they're in a shopping mall somewhere or whatever?
Right. So, kind of what Lester said earlier. You got to prepare. If when the shit hits the fan, you're in a shopping center, you have to know what to do. If you do not, you'll just become another statistic.
Well, damn it all, what is the way to drive this sense into these people's heads so that they know and understand that, you know what, this is, whether or not you like it, whether or not you believe in crime rooms or whatever else, this shit's going to happen and you have to be ready. How do we do it? Lester.
Amen to that.
Like I said earlier, I mean, if you're talking nukes and stuff like that, that's the military. But if you're talking local on the ground here, supermarkets, terrorists, you know, mass shootings and stuff like that, it's all on us to be prepared. You'll be happy when you see me pushing a carriage behind you in the local grocery store, and you know I do sometimes.
Absolutely. The question is, how do we get these addle-pated Mr. and Mrs. Americas that are now on college campuses turning around and supporting the terrorists? How do we get them to turn around and wake up and realize what's coming down the pike?
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get them to wake up and realize that. What I think is going to happen is everyone else is going to realize that this shit is real and they're not going to support them, they're going to have to learn how to do things on their own, right? So I say this all the time jokingly. Guys like me and guys like my friends here on this podcast, we're going to take shit from you if you're not ready. If you're not armed and you're not ready to defend your stockpile, so to speak, we're going to take it from you. Good, bad, right, wrong, or indifferent. So as civilians look at this, as, oh my God, you're a bully or you're this or that. No, that's the reality. You said it before. The shit's going to hit the fan. And guess what? Whether you like it or not, verbatim what you said, here it is. Learn how to defend yourself. Learn how to protect yourself. And learn everything you're going to need to do so someone else doesn't have to defend it for you.
Okay. I got something now in the last, we got about 10 minutes left here. We've got a video to play. We'll try to get to that, but if we can find, I've got something else that we really do need to address. After all of the time that we had and all of the pushing and shoving and finger pointing, this evening we do have a new Speaker of the House, Congressman Mike Johnson of Louisiana, who is a relative unknown, has been sitting around on his brain doing whatever sort of things for only a few years, and he is now second in line to fill in for Sleepy Joe. He is a hardline Republican. How does this help the situation that we're in now? Lester.
If you got a sewing needle handy, look at the tip of the sewing needle. That's how
Okay.
much faith I have in politicians.
Ned?
Oh, yeah. I think there needs to be a complete revamping of our entire system at this point. And this guy, I don't know anything about him. I just was watching it earlier. But I think the days of the career politicians need to stop. There is, like the issue that we have right now, there's no reason that we should have a president of the United States that's been in politics for 50 years. He obviously has no idea what he's doing. So let's go ahead and give the new guys a shot here, at least, and let's see what their actions, it's actions, not words, facta non verba. Let's see what they actually do with the jobs that they've been given and see what happens. I think in this particular situation, I think new eyes, fresh eyes, I think are going to really help.
Ben, you're this fellow's from Louisiana, and you're a Yankee boy. Do you think that this guy is actually going to be someone who's going to represent things across the board, or is he going to muck it all up and cause a continuation of the stagnation that we've been seeing coming from our federal government?
I can only answer that with the truth will reveal itself soon enough. I don't have enough information on this gentleman to know whether or not he's going to toe the line, or he's going to be, a party boy in between both sides. We'll have to see.
That having been said, ladies and gentlemen, time will tell. Blazeman, if we've got some time, I believe we still have a little time. We've got that other video. Could we bring that up? It's something that's fairly important to watch. Here we go. We need some sound. Ladies and gentlemen, we're having some, unfortunately, some technical difficulty with the with the sound aspect. We'll come back to that. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you this. We've seen
dilemmas whether or not I should do this video, but I feel like nowadays truth and transparency is so important that I feel I should share it with you. So we're all trying to make sense of what happened on October 7th, which is Shmini Atzeret. Some call it Simchat Torah, when we all know Gazans came in and basically slaughtered 1,000 Israelis and kidnapped a bunch, all in the matter of about 7 hours. So what I want to do is reverse engineer this thing a little bit to kind of help you understand why I believe that this was an inside job. First of all, we'll start with September 1st. By the way, everything I'm about to say will be backed up with actual links to news articles or video footage. And if you want any of my sources, I'm happy to give them. September 1st, the Israeli government confiscated the weapons of the security teams in the Gaza Belt communities. This was done against the will of those security teams in the Gaza Belt communities. Why that happened, nobody knows. Fast forward to September 10th. On September 10th, the Moatzah, which is basically the municipalities of the Gaza Belt communities, received reports. These are civilians, received reports of increased tensions on the border of Gaza during the Jewish holidays, which of course span from Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Shmini Atzeret, which was on Saturday. Those same heads of municipalities asked the army if they should cancel their festivities in light of the warnings of increased tensions on the border of Gaza. And what did the army say? They said, no, don't cancel anything. It appears as though we're heading into a state of calm. By the way, all links I will share as soon as I have a chance to comment on this. Now, you can assume that the Shabak did not know about this attack, but that's highly improbable. I mean, Israel is probably the most advanced surveillance state in the world, and the Gaza border is probably the most heavily surveilled. And the Shabak, who somehow knew about a guy who had corona in a toy store and tracked him all the way to a soccer stadium during the days of corona, somehow didn't know about this massive attack planned by thousands of random Gazans on pickup trucks and hang gliders. Are you serious? Are you really that stupid? Do you really believe that? Because if you do, I have a bridge to sell you. Anyways, so then there's the theory that they're called in Hebrew Tatzpitanot, which is basically the command and control center. These are the people, mostly females, who's tasked with observing the Gaza border fence. I say there's a theory that says that they were hacked, or that they conquered or that they blew it up before they could. They blew up the equipment that surveilled. Well, that's BS, because there's actual video footage that I'll also share with you of those same command control center operators reporting on the breach of the fence. The fence was breached in 15 different locations. And you want to tell me that the most highly advanced surveillance equipment on arguably any border in the world didn't pick that up, didn't report it? Well, they did, and it's documented. So don't believe that lie. Now, once thousands of Gazans on pickup trucks and hang gliders invaded Israel, which apparently nobody knew about, right? Okay, you believe that? Which apparently no one knew about. They had 7 hours to kill everyone in their path, completely destroy kibbutzim. Not only that, take hostages back to Gaza, unscathed, unopposed. Now, there are people who say, well, a bunch of battalions were moved from Gaza over to Judea and Samaria. First of all, that's BS. Second of all, okay, so what if they did? Do you know how long it takes an attack helicopter to get activated and blow up any one of those tractors or pickup trucks or hang gliders that invaded Israel? Less than 5 minutes. And I know all these things firsthand because I served on the Gaza border. Less than 5 minutes. It all could have been over. From 7:01 a.m. on October, what was it, 6th or 7th, on Saturday, I believe it was October 7th, it could have been a 5 minute, it could have been a matter of 5 minutes before the whole thing was upended. And instead they had 7 hours, possibly 8, to conquer kibbutzim, kill thousands, and bring back hostages alive, unopposed. And there's many people that say, oh, well, this was just a breach. No, that's not a breach. I'm sorry, that's not a fucking breach. That's an inside job. And if it's not an inside job, well, then that's even worse. Because that means that the IDF is the most incompetent military that ever walked the face of the earth. And now we're supposed to trust these people to invade Gaza? They're calling up thousands of reservists to invade Gaza?
Some powerful statements being made over there, and leaves an awful lot of food for thought. I don't exactly know how to respond to this gentleman. I don't know everything. I don't have all of the answers, and I don't know anybody who does. But at this point, we're coming up to the close, so I'm going to ask for some final thoughts. We'll go for you. We'll start with you, Ben. Are you with us? Oh, Ben's probably off. All right, Lester, how about you? You have some final thoughts for us this evening?
Well, that gentleman you just heard talking, he was an officer in the IDF. It's frightening and it's disheartening if it was an inside job. Getting back to my previous statement, look at the head of a pin and see how big it is. That's how much trust I have in everybody except myself, except for Ben, and except for Ned.
Ned, you have any final thoughts? I do have a follow-up question, by the way. But go ahead. Ned, any final thoughts?
Yeah, just real quick. That's pretty hard to argue with boots on the ground. I hope he's not right. But, you never know. Complacency kills a lot of people. Maybe that's part of the issue. It could be a million different things.
Yeah. How much further do you believe that this might be escalating?
Who are you asking? For me?
Either of you. Both of you.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. I think we're nowhere. We're just at the beginning of this battle. I think there are a lot greater forces than we can even comprehend that are going to be going on before this is all over with.
Les?
I just got reconnected. I was disconnected. I missed the question.
Okay, sorry. How much further do you think this is going to go?
How much further I think it's going to go? As soon as Biden gets his nose out of it and unleashes Netanyahu unleashes the Israeli military, then I think all hell's going to break loose.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've had quite a discussion group this evening. It's been quite enlightening, but also there are other questions that leave us. That all having been said, this has been Poli-Ticking with Mr. B. I thank you very much for watching. If you like this, share this, spread the word, talk about it. If you don't like it, go watch something else. Poli-Ticking with Mr. B. Thank you very much to our engineer, Blazeman, who's been the yeoman's work on the FFN network. We'll see you all again soon next week. Take care, everybody. Good night.